Hey there, you're back on Kill You and the Loser, and it's a cam video. How you doing? This video is an interesting one because it's a video that Andy has requested that I make. Previously, all of them have kind of been ideas I came up with, but I asked Andy, is like, there anything that I espouse as like, personal things that I do that you don't, or personal things that I do that other people don't, that you want me to talk about and you think would make an interesting video? And he said, why don't you talk about why you like having girls as friends? Which is kind of a controversial point in like men's space, manosphere, red pill, anything adjacent to like that. Kind of a controversial topic. I know a lot of content on YouTube that's like men's orientated is kind of like, I don't know, aiming directly at women, as in like what sucks about women or whatever and stuff like that. And yeah, I have like an interesting side on this, given that in my social life and my friends, in terms of like the friends I have, I count a lot of girls as friends, girls that I've never had any previous relationship with in terms of like sexual relationship or emotional and romantic. Just girls that are straight up friends. Not even like girlfriends of guys of my friends, like just straight up, we're friends. You get the idea. And given that I disagree with like a decent chunk of like the red pill content and stuff on this, I think it's worth making the case for why I have so many female friends. I don't think I'm making a case for it after the fact, but I don't think I ever really like held myself back or like analyzed it in the beginning and being like, I need to justify why I have friends with girls. Like, no, I'm a highly extroverted person. This was always going to happen. But I can make a case for why there are like positives. I can make a case for why it's not such a big panic deal when men are friends with women. Guys make a big deal out of it. The cases I've seen where guys are saying don't be friends with women, I just see like guys making a big deal out about stuff that they don't need to make such a big deal out of. However, I'm going to say, and I probably should do this with all the videos, like if you disagree with me and you disagree passionately or you just disagree slightly or whatever, I want you to make a comment and I want you to explain your reasoning, and I will look and probably try and respond with whatever my viewpoint is on your argument, because I'm interested in this as a debate. I'm not, I don't always encourage like debates. I don't always encourage mental masturbation, so to speak. We want this community to be about like taking action and stuff. But there is some things that I think I don't see the point in have people having such heavy prescriptions and such heavy people saying you shouldn't do this and you should do that. Like, I really think it'd be worth us relaxing a little bit. I like Hormozy for this. Alex Hormozy has a saying which is like, there are no rules. And that goes counter to so many like content creators who are like, you should do this and you have to do this. And I'm just like, I don't see the point in that rule. I just don't. So to get it out of the way first, do not be friends. I'm gonna make a rule here. Okay, I don't recommend, and I personally don't do this myself. I don't recommend being friends with girls who you have feelings for, who you are attracted to in terms of emotionally and physically. I used to do this when before I started getting into self-improvement, before I met Andy and all that stuff. And as a matter of fact, after meeting Andy and reading his excellent article, if you haven't read it, there's an article that Andy wrote called How to End Relationships, or How to Break Up. I think it's called How to Break Up with a Girl Politely or Nicely or something like that. And Andy goes through his like advice on every single level of like, you've seen a girl for this long, this is how you should break up with her, all that stuff. Using that article, I broke it off with two girls who I had unrequited feelings for. And I did it not as like a relationship breakup, but as like a friendship breakup, just being like, hey, you're not interested in me. This is going to work because blah, blah, blah. And since then, I have successfully not ended up in friendships with any girls that I have any sort of like attraction or feeling towards in like a serious way. It's not what I want you to do. First of all, is not allow yourself to get into a friend zone situation. So if you like a girl, I advise you let her know that early and either get rejected or progress it somewhat. And that's it. That's fine. You can do that. I know a lot of people who've ended up being friends after they got rejected and they got over it. So I'll leave that up to like judgment. If you're friends with girls that rejected you in the past at some point, it's up to you, mate, it's up to you in terms of like how dicey you want to play with that. It's a lot of gray area. But yeah, I think it's better if you tell girls that you're into them early, and have them make the decision on you, and then don't try and pigeonhole girls as friends that you're secretly trying to, later on down the line, they call it playing the long game. That was I remember people saying that in college. It's so dumb. I've done it before. I'm sure you've all done it before. Don't do that. Girls who are friends, they are friends, yeah? My friends used to have a saying back in Sydney, it's like, we don't fuck our friends. Which is funny because a lot of people ended up breaking that rule when they got drunk. So, with finding girls for friends, it's the same as finding good guy friends, yeah? It's like a screening process. Same as you would screen for like the guys. Andy has like a long or several videos, I believe, where he talks how to screen for like great guy friends. He's always looking for like self-improvement. He wants guys that are like building businesses, and you can do exactly the same thing for women. I know one of the guys we like, Caleb Jones, a lot of his like professional friends are women. He says that women make very, very good business partners, especially the kind of women who are into like, the women who are good at like business make really good business partners. And I think he has a podcast with a few girls that he works with. So yeah, you can screen people into your life, and you can screen you can screen relationships and girls into your life romantically, and you can do the same thing for friends. So that's part of it. But the only included part that you have to put in there with girls is that you have to include the bit that you're not attracted to them. That's what matters. I've known that like there are girls that I am friends with who are very physically attractive, and what turned me off are things to do with their personality. So like I can't deny that I have like hot friends who are girls, but Jesus Christ, I've lived with a couple of them. It's just like, oh wow, no. Like things that are like I don't care about if we're friends, but would absolutely fucking give a shit about if I was like trying to date them or whatever. A lot of them are chaotic messes, which we'll get into in a second as to why like I've had so many female friends. But like, yeah, you will find things about girls that make them unattractive. I think if you're sitting there thinking all of it's entirely like physical or whatever, you might be a bit inexperienced. Like the further you get into this, the more experience you have, the more girls you date, the more you find that your attraction starts to be attached more to like stuff they like have going on with them in terms of their vibe and personality than it is just about how they look. I've been friends with plenty of girls who at the beginning are like, yo, you're hot, and then hung out with them for like 5 minutes, and I was like, right, okay, and then yeah, that's actually really good because it means you can become friends with them. As soon as you realize you're just, oh, well, I'm never going to be like into you, that's when you can be like, oh, you make a good friend. So the reason I had so many chaotic female friends, and I lived with some of them, is because a lot of the female friends and girls that I met and befriended when I was like traveling, when I was back in the UK, were in the rave scene, were in the party scene, were in the house party scene. These were the girls, like all the beach raves as well. Like I didn't meet a lot of girls. I think guys who don't have female friends, they're probably the first thing they'll say is like, how do you meet girls to be friends with them? And like, I thought that was a problem too, but then I started living in hostels, going to raves. When I was in Australia, when I got back to England, I was in the rave scene there, and I started hanging out with my friends who went to raves at university. That's where you meet girls, in the nightlife, in the party scene. That's where I made friends with girls, and they were the best friends to have because they got all the invites. They were my like ticket into nightlife. They would be like, hey, we're all going to this party. Like you wouldn't even need to plan your night out because you just say, yo, where we going? And they'd be like, hey, we're gonna go to this party, then we're gonna bounce to this party. And usually be like a girl leading that sort of like vibe and group. It's pretty, they come in serious clutch when it comes into like, do you have a foot in the door to the nightlife scene that you wanna have? No, have hot female friends. Then you'll suddenly have this crazy, as long as they're willing to invite you. And I said this to a guy who was commenting on one of the videos, being like, how do you get into the nightlife scene? And this is the fastest way. Like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, make friends with promoters, like make friends, like go and get a job, and it's inside like bar and stuff like that. I think the easiest way in is having like party girlfriends. And at one point in Melbourne, I was living with 3 of them. And that was slightly crazy. I remember Chris, good looking loser, also lived in a party house in LA for a bit with like 4 girls, I think. And I like, based on his stories, similar vibe. I know he lived in like a Hollywood mansion too, but he also talked about living with party girls. And like, yeah, it's like you won't get a great night's sleep most nights, but you will have invites to every good party in the city. So, like what are your priorities? Like if you're in a get laid phase, that's going to be really helpful. especially if you like nightlife, if you like that scene. And that's what I love. That's the stuff I love. I love going out in big groups. I love having massive social party groups. That I loved the party life and I loved that nightlife scene. And being in that scene and refusing to make friends with girls would have seemed horrifically weird. Imagine like being like a red pill guy, being like, oh, I don't make friends with girls. And you're like in the like rave scene and you're in like the nightlife. Like you don't make friends with girls. Like, fuck, it's so weird. It's almost autistic. It's almost like socially stupid for like someone to be like, I don't make friends with women. It's like, yeah, these people would not have been in the stuff, like into the nightlife stuff I was into. And they don't have an open mind when it comes to that stuff. So it's like, I just don't get it. It's one of those like prescription rules that I saw and immediately turned me off, that kind of like red pill vibe. Guys saying that kind of stuff and just like repeating it verbatim from guys who like, you know, I wouldn't go on a night out with, or like, or I wouldn't think I'd enjoy hanging around with, basically. So yeah, that kind of sums up why, like my reasons. It's mostly in part because I'm like massively extroverted, in part because I love the nightlife scene and girls were like my way in. I remember getting out of uni as well and like seeing all of my friends that were like popular and getting laid, and they all had female friends too. Oh, my laptop's trying to die. Sorry for that ridiculous hard cut. Basically, my battery was about to die and then I'd lose my sound recording. Yeah, all of my popular friends at university, the guys that I like admired and was jealous of because I was still a virgin when I left university, like the difference between me and them is that they knew girls in like a social way. They knew girls to go and hang out with. And like because they were just hanging around girls, they would be able to get on the girls' friends, you know, they'd be able to hit on the friends of the girls and they would get laid purely just like referral game, you know, like this is my friend, pass over, and like meeting girls that they brought in from other like places as well around the country. I actually lived with a couple of girls at uni, and like one of my like nearest attempts at getting laid at uni was based off of my friend's friend being into me. I fucked it up because I had like no balls and no ability to take action, but yeah, like that was one of the only times I almost had it at university. And that's because it was a girl who I lived with recommending that I was a good guy and that her friend should have a go. See, these are like the benefits to like being friends with girls, and like guys who are shutting that off are throwing away those potential opportunities. Maybe because a lot of guys don't really do like social game. A lot of guys prefer it to be like the lone wolf, night game, sarging, day game guy, which has just never been me and my vibe, to be honest. Like I've always just wanted to be like accepted as like a cool, normal guy, not as like, you know, some like Sigma male shit. All right, this is probably my controversial one and people are going to disagree. Actually, I invited you to disagree, so please comment away, give Andy some algorithm. All right, peace out till next time.